Okay, so we're going to finish up with these last three problems. We're not going to do the word problems today, and there won't be a quiz tomorrow. I'm not sure when we're going to do our first quiz. Okay, so these problems, they look a little weird at first, especially 6 and 7, but we've got a lot of these in our future chapter, so we need to get good at this. Okay, so do y'all remember a couple of days ago we talked about that if 3 was an answer, it came from x minus 3, and that if 8 was an answer, it came from x minus 8. I hope you remember that, because we're about to do that. So what if 3i was an answer? Well, if 3i was an answer, then didn't that come from x minus 3i? Like, wouldn't that give me 3i for an answer? And wouldn't x plus 3i give me negative 3i for an answer? And they want me to write the quadratic equation. So first I turned them into factors, and then I FOIL it. So that's going to be x squared plus 3ix. I know that looks weird, but luckily we're going to get a minus 3ix, and we're going to get minus 9i squared. So the 3ix terms cancel out. I hope that y'all remember that I squared equals negative 1, so we end up with x squared plus 9 equals 0. So this quadratic has these two things for an answer. All right, that was pretty simple. Now let's try these guys. So if 3 came from x minus 3, then I'm going to say x minus 2 plus 5i. So x minus 8 gives me 8, x minus 2 gives me 2, so x minus this guy gives me this guy. And then I'm going to say x minus this guy. So it is always x minus. X minus this guy gives me this guy. X minus this guy gives me this guy. I'm going to throw some brackets around, and I am about to FOIL this all together. And it's going to look really gross for about 20 seconds, but then it'll turn out nice. So here we go. I'm going to distribute my x to my x, and that gives me x squared. I'm going to distribute an x to a negative and a 2 minus 5i. So that's negative x, 2 minus 5i. So I distributed my x to the first term, and I distributed my x to the second term. So now I have to distribute the minus and the 2 plus 5i to both of these guys. So the minus and the 2 plus 5i, when it goes to the x, becomes minus x, 2 plus 5i. So I distribute the minus and the 2 plus 5i to this guy, and then I'm going to distribute the minus 2 plus 5i to the minus, so that's going to make it a plus. So I'm going to distribute the 2 plus 5i to the 2 minus 5i. All right. So that's going to be x squared minus 2x plus 5ix minus 2x minus 5ix plus. Now, what's going to happen when I FOIL these guys out? These guys are conjugates, and the middle terms are going to cancel out. So, see, when I do 2 times 2, that's 4, and then I have minus 10i, and then plus 10i, and then minus 25i squared. So the 10i's cancel out, and I have minus 25i squared, which is going to turn into plus 25. All right, so another weird thing is these goofy 5ix terms cancel out. So I have x squared minus 4x, and then I have a 4 here and a 25 there, plus 29 equals 0. So this quadratic has these two answers weaved into the quadratic. So what would happen if I told y'all to do the quadratic formula on this problem? Let me see if I can do that really quickly. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So let me see, what is 16 minus 4 times 29 is negative 100. So that's 4 plus or minus the square root of negative 100. Well, isn't that 4 plus or minus 10i? And isn't that 2 plus or minus 5i? See? So this is the answer. I took 2 plus 5i and 2 minus 5i and I weaved them together. Those two answers are weaved in this quadratic. This quadratic has these two answers. I know it looks weird at first, but you got to get the hang of this. We're going to do a lot of this in this quarter. All right, and we're going to practice that again. Always do x minus. So x minus this guy and x minus this guy. We're going to throw some brackets around it, and we're going to FOIL. Here we go. X times x is x squared. And then I'm distributing an x to a negative and a 3 minus 2 radical 5. So I distributed my x to my x. I distributed my x to this guy. Now I'm going to distribute a negative and a 3 plus 2 square root of 5 to an x. So that's negative x, 3 plus 2 radical 5. And then I'm going to distribute a negative to a negative, and I get a positive. 3 plus 2 root 5 times 3 minus 2 root 5. So that's going to be x squared minus 3x plus 2x squared of 5 minus 3x minus 2x squared of 5 plus. Now here we are with conjugates. But this time, I think I'm going to skip the middle step because I know they're going to cancel out. So 3 times 3 is 9 minus 4 square root of 25. So these goofy little 2x cancels out. So that leaves me x squared minus negative 3x, and negative 3x is negative 6x. And 9 is 9, and 4 square root of 25 is 4 times 5, which is negative 20. So I have a positive 9 and a negative 20, which is negative 11. So I end up with x squared minus 6x minus 11 equals 0. And what would happen if I did the quadratic formula on this guy? What would I get? I don't have time to do it because the video's got to be under 8 minutes, I think. But if I did it, I would get 3. If I did it right, I'd get 3 plus or minus 2 square root of 5. All right.